Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be covering astronomy questions as such. So this isn't necessarily a specific area in quantum reasoning. Like this is just kind of like a subset of different ideas collated together. And so I guess it's more like it could be percentage change in these astronomy questions. There's sometimes a little bit of volume because planets are like spheres, and there's distance involved, there's speed involved, but overall it comes under this idea of astronomy questions. And since I got a couple of requests to do something like this, I thought I would go over it really briefly. So first couple of ideas. So the first thing is there's only a limited number of ideas that happens with this. Remember, it's about distance, it's about radius, it's about volume, it's about speed. They don't really go much past that. Okay, so therefore it's just about trying to understand like different ideas between these, and we'll just get onto that in just a bit, as you can see in point 3. The second thing is obviously remember to convert appropriately, right? So make sure that you're really on the ball in terms of miles, kilometers, meters when it comes to some of the distances and radiuses, and when it comes to volumes, make sure you've got your radius in the appropriate appropriate format in order to convert it into volume properly. So the area of a sphere, for example, is 4/3 pi r cubed. So I mentioned this already in my geometry video, but normally they will tell you it. Don't worry, they will normally tell you this information. So the volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed, and the surface area is 4 pi r squared. Okay, and so importantly, the idea is that in both of these cases, what you're trying to do is, so have a quick look at the answers. Maybe if it asks you to calculate volume, the volume's in meters cubed. Why is my radius in miles? Therefore, I probably am going to change it to meters first to make my life easier, that kind of idea. Okay, so, and this is just one example. Obviously, others include days, hours, etc., etc. Other kind of couple of things, it's important to understand main concepts. Okay, so one of the concepts that comes up is they ask about like what are the maximum and minimum distances. So imagine you've got the sun here, right at the center. You've got 2 planets in orbit. Let's call this A, and let's call this second planet in green. Let's call this B. Okay, so it'll probably ask you questions like, okay, when are they going to be the closest together? When they're going to be the furthest together? Well, if you think about it, they're going to be closest together when, they're right next to each other. Okay, and the best way to calculate that is to calculate the radius of the big radius of B. Okay, so I'm just going to call that B, and then you're going to have to simply just subtract the radius of A. So, and therefore this is equal to B minus A. Okay, that's when they're going to be the closest together. Of course, when they're going to be the furthest apart from each other, they're going to be the furthest apart when, for example, if let's say B is still here, let's say B is still here, they're going to be the furthest apart when A is all the way at the other end. So like this. So when A is all the way here. So when A is like there. Does that make sense? So therefore, to calculate this total length is going to be this original B, because this is B here, this is B, plus A. So therefore, the furthest distance apart is going to be B plus A. So just to make that clear, so the shortest distance, I'm going to go do it in black, the shortest distance between them is just this gap. The longest distance between them is going to be like this. Okay, so it's going to be B plus A here, and then B minus A on the other side. Okay, and that's all it is pretty much. So just little ideas like this. And when it comes to volumes, obviously comparing volumes. One thing that's important about volumes is perhaps scale factor that you guys might not have thought about. So, for example, if you have a square, let's take a square that has side lengths of 5. The area here is 25, right? So it says 5 meters. 5 meters, the area is 25 meters squared. Let's say you get another square and you double each of the side lengths. The area becomes 100 meters squared. So you can see, whilst we only doubled the side length, the area multiplied by 4. And that's because the area of a square it's just both sides. So like length times width, for example, it's just both sides multiplied together. And it's because we're timesing both of these by 2 that overall we end up with a times 4 scale factor. So here, for example, if you ever double your radius, your overall volume is going to increase by times 8. Okay, so just little ideas to remember here. And then finally, it's important to make the distinction between rotational period and orbital period, which we will get onto seeing a little bit more clearly in one of our questions. Okay, and finally, of course, read the question, right? Make sure you're answering what they're answering, and make sure you're trying to bring in that approach of really attacking the question, right? So this is something that I've talked about before in my QR, in my QR strategy videos, and in my walkthroughs. You can see that I do this, and if you haven't watched it already, please do go to the quantitative reasoning. It's a playlist on my channel. Go to QR and go to the video that's titled The Most Optimal Way to Do QR, as well as the best QR strategy, and you should be able to find out a little bit more about this. Okay, so so make sure to check those out perhaps before coming back here, and it will make the rest of the video really, really helpful. Okay, so I hope that was all helpful. Let's get into the main content then. Okay, so so how many Neptune days are in a Neptune year? Okay, so this is what I meant about the difference between rotational period and orbital period. So we'll just come on to this in just a second. But importantly, if we were attacking the question, remember, so attacking this question is this like concept that I use in order to be able to answer questions just a little bit faster. So it talks about Neptune days, Neptune years. So do we need to look at any of the other rows? No. Do we need to look at diameter at the equator? No. Do we need to look at mass? No. We need to look at the two things that actually mention days in them. So rotational period and orbital period. So one thing I'd say is it's important to understand them. So sometimes, if you don't know what they mean, it's probably because you haven't been told about this before, you haven't seen this question before, or the information is probably just in the abstract. So here, let's read it. So the table shows facts about the outer planets of the solar system, along with the Earth and Orphan Pluto, blah, blah, blah. The rotational period is the time required for the planet to complete one rotation of its axis, so it's the planet equivalent of a day. Okay, so therefore we know that for Neptune, the rotational period, okay, is 0.67 days. Okay, and this is all relative to Earth, to complete one. So basically that's like one rotation. Okay, so that's going around once, which is basically equivalent to a day. But I can't call it a day because it's equivalent to one Neptune day. Yeah, so that's what I meant to call it. So it's equivalent to one Neptune day. But that's equivalent to 0.67 Earth days. But I just haven't written Earth here. I could write Earth here to clarify things. And then if you keep going, so it says the orbital period is the time taken by the planet to orbit once around the sun, so it's the planet's equivalent of a year. So therefore, for Neptune, 60,170 Earth days is one solar rotation, so one time around the sun, and that's equivalent to one Neptune year. So it's not too bad now if you think about it. So how many Neptune days are in a Neptune year? So in a Neptune year, there's 60,190 Earth days in total, and each Neptune day is 0.67 days. So all you have to do is 60,190 divided by 0.67. Okay, so if I just get my calculator, I do that, 190 divided by 0.67, I'm going to get, oh, that number seems wrong, 60,190 divided by 0.67, I get 89,835.82 days. Okay, so that's the answer. So it's going to become 89,836 days, let's say. Okay, so not necessarily too complex, it's just about working through it in a logical manner. Okay, on to the next one. In the same time as 100 Earth years, Pluto will have completed how much of a single orbit of the Sun? Okay, so once again, conversion of ideas. Single orbit of the Sun. Remember what we said. Orbital period is the solar orbit time, right? So it's the time taken for one solar rotation. That's the bit that we need. So the only number we're interested in here is the 9797. But first of all, we need to work out how long is 100 Earth years in days. So if each Earth year is 365, which we know, it's going to be 36,500 days. So it says Pluto will have completed how much of a single orbit of the Sun? Okay, so that's how many days have happened. So Pluto requires 90,797 days to fully orbit the Sun. Okay, so 36,500 divided by 90,797 And then you can just times it by 100. So this is, it's not necessarily too bad of a question. You just have to fixate on the right place. Because we know, for example, this is how long it takes for one full solar orbit. And this is how much we've done. So we've only done 100 years. Which is equivalent to 36,500 days. So once again, if you plot that into your calculator, it's going to be 0.40199 times 100, so it becomes 40.2%. Okay, so that's what your answer is. On to the next question. So how many times does Jupiter orbit the Sun during a Uranus year? So a Uranus year is 30,685. Jupiter takes 4,332 days to orbit the Sun once. Okay, so once again, once you understand the idea behind orbit appear and rotation rate, it makes the question so much easier. So all you have to do now is, so how much does Jupiter orbit the Sun during a Uranus year? So during a Uranus year, so this is how many days are in total, and each orbit for Jupiter is just 4,332. Okay, so this is the Uranus year, and then this one is each Jupiter solar orbit. Sorry, not times by 100. And then so 30,685 divided by 4,332 is 7.0833. So 7.08 or 7 orbits. Okay, cool. So let's move on to another question set then, okay? So we've got a similar kind of idea here. We're going to talk about some different questions, but you can see once again, we've got orbital period, we've got rotational period. So perhaps you guys can take a pause, see if you can do this question, and then... Okay, so remember, this is exactly the same as that Venus and Mars question. Sorry, that Neptune question that we had. Okay, so how many Mercury days are there in a Mercury year? Okay, but it's just the orbital and the rotational period the other way around. Okay, so it's going to be exactly the same. So how many Mercury days are there in a Mercury year? So each Mercury day is 88 Earth days. So Mercury days in a Mercury year. And we know the rotational period is going to be 59 days. Okay, so with this information, we kind of ask ourselves once again, like, what? These are the only two things that are going to be relevant here. Okay, these are literally the only two things that are going to be relevant here. And so all we have to do is, in a year, there's 88 Earth days. So how many Mercury days are there in a Mercury year? So we're doing Mercury year divided by Mercury day to figure that out. Okay, so that equals 88 divided by 59. 88 divided by 59 is going to be, 88 divided by 59, it's going to be 1.4915 ... So that's 1.5 Mercury days. Okay, makes sense? So once again, it's not necessarily too difficult. It's just about making sure that you get your numbers the right way around and you're doing the right divisions. Okay, cool. So let's go on to the next question then. Okay. Assume that the orbit of Venus is in the same plane as the Earth's orbit. Estimate the closest possible distance between Venus and Earth. Okay, so we talked about this question before, and the idea was that there's only really one way that we can do it. Okay, so I'll draw that example out again if you guys don't understand. So if you've got the Sun in the center, and you've got, let's say, so obviously Venus is closer than Earth, because you can see the minimum and maximum distances. Venus is closer than the Earth, and it says estimate the closest possible distance between Venus and Mars. So the point here is that the minimum distance is when they are both, because obviously they're just randomly at some point along here, each one of them. And so, for example, they'll be the closest when they're both in the same kind of horizontal axis, I guess, or vertical axis or whatever. As long as they're lined up, that's when they'll be the closest. And in order to work that out, all you have to do is you just have to subtract their two like distances or radiuses from each other. And here what we're going to do is we're going to use the smallest amounts in order to get the closest possible distances. Because, I mean, we can use the other ones, but we're just going to get a larger distance. and we want it to be as small as possible. Okay, sorry, so we're not going to use the smallest for both, but we're going to basically use the combination of these that gives us the smallest distance. So for example, if you did 152 minus 108, that would give you 44. But then if you did 152 minus 109, that would give you 43. But then if you did 146 minus 109, that would give you 37. So then that's going to be this. Like, so that's what I mean by using the smallest possible combination. So we say for Earth, so let's say, so Earth is here. Venus is on the inside, Earth is on the outside. So we want Venus to be as great as possible, if that makes sense, because we want it to be as close to Earth. So we want the Venus value to be as close as possible, which is why we use the 109. And we want the Earth one to be as small as possible because we want it to be as close to Venus as possible, like going this way. So it's simply just 146 million minus 109, which is going to be 37 million kilometers. Okay. So that's what the answer is. Okay, so this one, there's a little bit more of a confusion because it gives you minimum maximum distances, but it's about thinking about, okay, which combination is going to yield me the best results as such. Okay, cool. Okay, great stuff. Let's keep going. So how many Martian days are there in an Earth year? Okay, so how many Martian days are there in an Earth year? Okay, so in an Earth year, there is, of course, 365. Okay, and how many Martian days are there in an Earth year? Well, this question is actually easy in what it looks like, because if you look here, a Martian day is exactly the same as an Earth day. So it's basically saying how many Earth days are there in an Earth year, which is just 365 divided by 1, which is 365. Okay, if that number was any different, if it was like 2, then you just do 365 divided by 2, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so you can see now the repetitiveness is there, and this is what I mean, especially when it comes to a lot of QR decision making. It's the same question asked in a different style. Okay, so let's end with this last question. So how many times does Venus orbit the Sun during an Earth year? So an Earth year is 365 days. It orbits the Sun every 226 days. So all you have to do is 365 divided by 226. Put that into your calculator. 365 divided by 226 is going to be 1.615 ... So that's 1.6 times. Okay, so how many times does Venus orbit the Sun during an Earth year? So all we did there was Earth year, and then we divided that by Venus's orbital period, Venus's solar orbit, which takes 226 days. Okay, great, awesome. So, so I hope this video was helpful. So you can see, like, in terms of repetitiveness, like, once you understand these kind of key ideas, you'll be absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. But it's just about continuing to practice and keep it up. Okay. So thank you as always for the support, guys. Please do keep sending in your comments and messages. And if you do have any inquiries, please let me know. But otherwise, I will see you